Good morning, children. Today in English, in class 11, we continue the chapter Birth. Dr. Andrew was waiting and thinking about Christine, the girl whom he loves, and about various other instances and people who were unhappy in their marriages or their marriages were failures. Now, Susan Morgan's mother came to call him. Susan said not to give her the chloroform if it would harm the baby. Chloroform is a liquid that is used as an anesthetic. She's awful set upon this child, doctor. Says, awful set, that means that she was very eager, she was looking forward to the birth of her child. Her old eyes warmed at a sudden thought. Warmed at a sudden thought, that is the thought that Susan Morgan, of course, was looking forward to the birth of her little child, and her mother would be the grandmother. So she also was waiting and looking forward to the birth of her grandchild. She added in a low tone, "We all are, I fancy." So she says that we are all, that is, we are very eager, we are wanting that everything goes on well. So she says that we are all looking forward to the birth of this little one, this little child in the family. He collected himself with an effort, that he calmed down, put away all his other thoughts. "It won't do any harm, the anesthetic," he said kindly. That is, that don't worry, he said he'll look after Susan Morgan and nothing is going to happen, that everything is going to be fine. They will be all right, that is, the mother and child will be fine. Here the nurse's voice was heard calling from the top landing, that is from upstairs. Andrew glanced at the clock, which now showed 3:30. He rose and went up to the bedroom. So he went to attend to the patient. He perceived that he might now begin his work. Perceived means he realized. An hour elapsed, that is, an hour passed. It was a long, harsh struggle, difficult, hard. Then, as the first streaks of dawn strayed past the broken edges of the blind, that is, as the first streak of dawn, that is, the early morning light could be seen, and the blind is a sunshade. The child was born lifeless. That meant that the child was not responding, there was no life in the child, it was a stillborn. That is, that was not crying or not responding. As he gazed at the still form, that is the doctor, as he gazed at as he looked at the child, at the still form, that is of the baby, a shiver of horror passed over Andrew. The still form, that is, means the lifeless body, as he looked at this little lifeless body, a shiver of horror, that means he was terrified, because he had promised all along, Susan Morgan and Joe Morgan, that everything would be fine, but it was not true now. After all that he had promised to look after Susan Morgan and her little child, but unfortunately he was not able to do that. So he was horrified for that fact, that how is he going to face Susan Morgan and Joe Morgan, that he's not been able to save the child. His face, heated with his own exertions, chilled suddenly. A chill went down his spine, because he was now really very disappointed also, and he really did not know how would he face the parents. He hesitated. That is, he was reluctant, wondering what to do now, how to react, torn between his desire to attempt to resuscitate the child. That is, so there were two things. One is he had to attend to the mother also, and he had to attend to the child also. So those were the two options that he had in front of him, that whom should he attend. Resuscitate means to bring back to life. The child was stillborn, not responding, not crying, not weeping, no movement at all. And his obligation towards the mother. Obligation is that his duty, his responsibility to look after her also. So, who was herself in a desperate state that she was in a critical state. So, he had in front of him the mother who was in a desperate state. That means that she was in a critical state, and on the other hand, the little child, the infant that was born as stillborn, lifeless, not responding. So, for a moment, he was thinking, whom should he attend to first? Blindly, instinctively, he gave the child to the nurse. So, blindly, that means not looking around, not thinking any further, and according to his instinct, that means that spontaneously, he gave the child to the nurse and turned his attention to Susan Morgan. So, without realizing, he did what he had to as a doctor, because he knew exactly what is to be done at that time. So, he handed the child to the nurse and focused his attention to Susan Morgan, who now lay collapsed. That is, that she was unconscious, that she was in a critical state and she needed immediate help, almost pulseless. The pulse was too slowing down, which meant that she was in a critical state and she may not survive, and not yet out of the ether. That is, that she was not out of the influence of the anesthetic that had been given to her. His haste was desperate. His hurry, that is, his urgency to save her life, was desperate because he knew that she was in such a critical state. A frantic race against her ebbing strength. Frantic, agitated. That means if he did not do anything immediately, if he did not help or give the injection immediately, she would not survive. Her ebbing strength, ebbing, that is receding, that is becoming less. So, she was in such a critical state that immediately, if the injection was not given to her, she would probably not survive. It took him only an instant to smash a glass ampule. That within no time, in an instant only, smash means break, a glass ampule in which the liquid that is to be injected. So, so he injected the medicine. Then he flung down the hypodermic syringe and worked unsparingly to restore the flaccid woman. So he injected or gave the injection rather, and worked unsparingly. That means not stopping at all, even for a single moment, to restore, to bring her to a conscious state, to bring her back to the original state, the flaccid woman. That is, the woman who was in a critical state, her pulse was slowing down and she was in a critical state. So he gave her the injection that was required at the time. After a few minutes, he might safely leave her. Then he felt that after a few moments, he observed that her heart has strengthened, that she was better now, she was regaining strength. So now he could safely leave her. He saw that he might safely leave her. So his efforts had succeeded, and now he knew that it would be after some time that she would come around and that she would be all right. She would recover. He swung round in his shirt sleeves, his hair sticking to his damp brow, because there was such an urgency to save the mother. So he gave the required injection and felt that now she was better. Her heart was strengthening, her pulse was coming back to a normal state. So now he turned around to the infant. "Where is the child?" he asked the nurse. The midwife made a frightened gesture. She was very scared. Gesture, a movement or a part of a body to express something, to express an idea or a meaning. So an action performed, but no words spoken. She had placed it beneath the bed because it was stillborn. There was no life. It was lifeless. So she had placed it beneath the bed. In a flash, that is without any delay, Andrew knelt down to bring the infant out from where it had been placed by the midwife. Fishing amongst the sodden newspapers. Sodden, that were damp and spoiled. He pulled out the child. So he did not want to waste even a single moment, because every moment was precious for his life, for the life of the child. A boy perfectly formed. So it was a baby boy that was born, but unfortunately lifeless. The limp, warm body. That meant that there was still hope. It was lifeless, but the body was still warm, was white and soft as tallow. Tallow is animal fat that we use for making soap, candles, and all. So it was still warm. The cord, that is the umbilical cord, hastily slashed, hastily, quickly slashed, cut, lay like a broken stem. The skin was of a lovely texture, smooth and tender. Obviously, it's a newborn baby. The soft and tender texture of the body. The head lolled on the thin neck. That is, it hung loosely because it was stillborn, it was lifeless. So he held the baby in his hand and wondered what should he do in order to revive the child. Thank you.